Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Ranting Shop. It's me, Melissa. And have you guys seen the extended preview of the upcoming season of Love and Marriage Huntsville? You guys, this is going to be absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. There's a couple things that we picked up from the preview. Number one, remember from the reunion show, Marceau mentioned he didn't remember seeing Maurice at that boys' night out. Turns out I think the same day or a couple hours later, he posted that infamous picture that allegedly Miss Arion took of Maurice at that very same boys trip along with Marceau and along with Martel. Okay, and if we know anything about that night, and if we know anything about Miss Arion, she mentioned that she saw Maurice with a so-called linebacker. Okay, so we see that Miss Tisha is telling her husband that he was messy, and that was extremely messy because essentially you're putting everybody's business, including your brother's business, out on Front Street, and that may potentially ruin his marriage. Why he made that move, I have absolutely no idea, but he did that shit. Okay, next we see that there's gonna be a situation where Miss Kimmy is gonna confront Maurice and ask him if he slept with the linebacker. Now, do I think he slept with the so-called linebacker? I absolutely did. Come on, you're in an environment where you guys are drinking, having fun. I'm pretty sure you were not thinking about Kimmy that night. I'm pretty sure you slept with people that night. I believe all of them slept with somebody that night, and that's that. So, but we're gonna see what he says. We're absolutely gonna wait to see what he says. Then we see that since the taping ended in the last season, because remember that when the taping ended, the relationship with Destiny and Melody essentially kind of dissolved, and they hadn't spoken to each other since that reunion. It looks like they haven't spoken to each other at all. Even within this new season, we're learning that Melody and Destiny have not really spoken, and according to Tisha, it sounds crazy, and it is absolutely crazy because it's going from one extreme to the next. Because when Destiny just came onto the season, she was riding Melody's coattails so hard that people didn't even like her because people felt as if she came there to be Melody's superhero, Melody's fight person, Melody's whatever, and we didn't like that. And then of course she came into her own, and people started to appreciate Destiny for Destiny as opposed to Destiny being Melody's sidekick, or so to speak. So it's really funny how these friendships work. Then we find out that Miss Melody overheard a conversation with Tisha and Destiny. I don't know if it was that very same conversation, and she felt like, according to Destiny, the issue wasn't that they were speaking about her. The issue was that Destiny was speaking to Tisha about her, and she considers Tisha to be her enemy. And that's very interesting, considering last season you would think that they were working things out. So for her to call Tisha her enemy now is crazy to me. I wonder what happened to cause the reversion now back into enemies. That's weird to me. And then we see that this is not in order, you guys. Then we see that Miss Destiny and Melody are gonna have a conversation, and it looks like there's some type of disagreement between Destiny, and apparently Martel came into her home or whatever the case may be, and Melody did not appreciate that Destiny spoke to Martel. I have no idea what went on, but what I do know is that for the past couple of seasons, we know that Destiny was Martel's friend first. Let me repeat that again. From previous seasons, we learned that Destiny was Martel's friend first. So this is weird to me. Now I know that after the infidelity and so on, she got closer to Melody. She absolutely did. But that doesn't negate the fact that she was still friends with with Martel. I don't think she ever stopped being friends with Martel. So um it seemed as if Melody did not really communicate the fact that she was not comfortable with Destiny communicating with Martel. And so if that is indeed the case, then she is quite unreasonable, because the relationship started off where Destiny was friends with your husband first. So I don't understand why all of a sudden, I understand there's the infidelity and you want her to pick a side, but at the end of the day, she's essentially and has always been the kind of sort of neutral party, so to speak. I mean, she sided a lot with Melody, but and she was always supposed to be the buffer between Melody and Martel, but still Martel is kind of sort of her friend as well. We're gonna see what happens as we of course see the season unfolding. The previews also allude to the possibility of Martel and Destiny having this type of romantic relationship or partnership. I highly doubt that that is the case, but of course we will see how it unfolds when the actual season premieres. Then another thing we're gonna hear about is, I suppose, more detail into um the Whitlows, Tiffany Whitlow's infidelity story. The way Melody responded to it, it seemed as if she's left her or slept or cheated on her man for somebody that had more money. I have no idea. We're gonna look more into that and see what really happened. We're gonna see that that contention is still there between Mr. Lewis Whitlow and Mr. Marceau Scott. Remember in the reunion, he was really blasting Lewis. It's like he was waiting for Lewis at the door. Like, I don't want to hear your opinion about my marriage, because essentially he was saying he doesn't think that Lewis is qualified to give marriage advice. I kind of disagree with that. I feel like anybody can give you great marriage advice. If it's great to you, then it's great. I don't necessarily feel like somebody has to have a particular qualification to give good advice. I believe that that is essentially just an excuse, and to me it seems more so that you just don't want anybody to give you advice. It's not that you don't want them to give you advice. You don't want anyone to give you an advice. It's kind of like red tape. It's like you're just talking mess because you're trying your best to avoid people telling you what to do if you're married. You don't want any advice. Like, even the therapist was encouraging him to open up and, be more present with his wife. And he didn't want to hear anything the therapist had to say, the qualified therapist. So at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with anything. It's just that he doesn't want people telling him anything about his marriage, period. But now he's taking it out on Lewis because, of course, it's easy to do so, because how dare Lewis give any type of good advice on his how do you call his marriage? His, I don't know, mess of a marriage. He'd prefer to just keep it that way because it's been that way for a while. It was that way before the cameras, and it's gonna continue being that way, and he doesn't want anybody giving Tisha any ideas. That's essentially what it looks like to me. It looks like Tisha is gonna stay regardless, so I don't really think anything is gonna really make Tisha want to leave her husband. And then we see that introducing Tisha's cousin Kiki, who we met at the cookout last season when she was questioning Tisha about why Tisha wasn't loyal to thing and all that BS. So basically, it seems like she's gonna be talking about Tisha to Melody, and Tisha doesn't really appreciate that, and she would like her cousin to keep her name out of her mouth. So I always thought that that family was really close. Apparently, it's not that close. if Tisha has to be telling you not to mention my name in front of somebody that doesn't like me. And of course, we see that Kimmy gave her that news. So we're gonna see how that family dynamic changes when we see the season progress. And we're also seeing another thing. We're seeing a bit of contention between the Scott brothers. It could be surrounding that picture that was posted, because essentially you're supposed to be your brother's keeper, and that picture kind of outed Maurice, so to speak. And so I suppose they're gonna go tit for tat on that. I hope it doesn't affect their relationship as brothers. I hope it doesn't affect Maurice's marriage. Do I think Maurice slept with the linebacker? Yes, I do think so. That's my belief. I think he did. Because why wouldn't you? That's an environment that's conducive to sexual activity. So I absolutely think he did it. And then he spoke about a peasant coming to his business place. When we speak about a peasant on Love and Marriage Huntsville, everybody knows we're talking about Arion Curry. So are you trying to tell me Arion Curry like decided to pull up on Mr. Marceau? We're gonna see if that is essentially who decided to pull up, because we know Arion always wants screen time. Arion wants to be on the show, and she's pissed that she's never gotten the opportunity to actually share her story according to her on the show. But she has no story to tell at the end of the day. If she did, she would have already said something. She always threatens that she will expose the cast, and it just never does anything. So anyways, the thing Marceau likes to do though is he likes to play on people's perception of other people. So if you think that Martel is a liar, he's gonna play into that and discredit him in that way. If people think Arion is this messy person with no credibility, is going to play into that and discount her story or whatever it is based on that perception that the public has of her. So in that way, he's very manipulative, but he tends to like get like with unsuspecting people, because you already think somebody's a particular way, he would get away with that. But for people that's more cognizant and people that are more like that pay more attention to certain things, we would know how to separate somebody that's trying to manipulate a perception that is made of someone versus a situation where like it would vary. Like people are not one way. So like for example, like the perception of me may be that I'm a liar. It doesn't mean that I don't tell the truth. It means that it would be, I suppose, more difficult for people to believe I told the truth because of that perception. So he kind of plays into that. So what else do we see? We see that the Whitlows are saying like, if you're gonna come for us, we're gonna come for y'all. So there's this us against them type of mentality, and it looks like in this particular season all holds bad. Everybody is essentially for themselves, and in that way it seems like it's gonna be very juicy, but it also seems as if it's going to leave a lot of broken relationships in the wake, and that is not a good thing. I always hate to see them bickering and fighting because of where they started. They started off being such great friends, and they've gotten to a point where Melody is calling Tisha her enemy, and that is something that is extremely deep to call somebody your enemy. Like that person must have done something terrible to you for them to turn from your friend to your enemy. So we're gonna see how that plays out. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did. I don't think. Also, we see Martel and Mr. Whitlow speaking, and Martel is saying that he doesn't want to see Maurice's marriage end up in shambles because of this whatever picture, whatever the situation is. And I just feel like Martel is so hypocritical sometimes, because I believe last season, because he was catching all that flack, not last season, the season prior to that, when he was catching all the flack because of his infidelity, he stated that Marceau had 20 girlfriends and he was not even he wasn't holding any bars. Like he was wanting everybody to burn too because he was burning, and then all of a sudden you're empathetic or sympathetic towards Maurice's marriage. Like, you better pick a side. Like, either you are interested in the demise of another marriage or you're not. Like, you cannot be one time and then another one another time. But we see that it's very possible with Martel because his personality varies. I guess it depends on his feelings at the moment. He might either be destruction or he might be kumbaya, like, who knows. But yes, I noticed he was speaking to Mr. Whitlow and he mentioned that. And also, one more thing that I forgot to add was Miss Wanda. So we see Miss Wanda. Miss Wanda is always confronting Marceau about cheating. Always. From the time Miss Wanda stepped up on the scene, it's always been her accusing Marceau about some type of infidelity, some type of rumor, or something of that sort. So we see that nothing has changed, and she's questioning Marceau about whether he invited somebody to something, or whatever the case may be. Of course, Marceau's response is always the fact that if he was doing something, he wouldn't tell anybody, he wouldn't tell her particularly. So again, here you see Marceau leaning into a public perception of an individual. So because we know Miss what her name is, Miss Wanda, is a messy person, and we know that sometimes she does not or is not the most credible individual, we are liable to just cast her off as this person that's not a credible source. But as I said before, people are not always one way. I might say something that's not credible 92% of the time, does not mean I'm always uncredible. It could be this one time that I'm credible, but because my overall perception is that I'm not a credible person, you are liable to what? Not believe me when I say something that is in fact credible. So more Marceau leans into people's public perception or the show's perception of whoever is on the show at that moment. So for example, Martel is the liar, so it's easy for him to discount anything Martel says as a lie, and people would most likely believe it. Miss Arion is not an uncredible type of person. Why? Because nothing she says has ever stuck, and people see her as kind of messy and seeking attention. So because of that, he uses that to his advantage to discredit her as well. Now, me also, as I said previously, Miss Wanda is not the most credible individual. She's a very messy person. She's not the most how do we say, she's not the most verbally sound, grammatically sound individual. So it's easy to discount people that are not necessarily grammatically inclined, and so he uses that to his advantage. So essentially, he kind of pushes Miss Wanda out as this silly, less than smart mom, So he uses all of these perceptions to his advantage. That's just what Marceau does. So yes, you guys, that's my addition. I don't think I did. Oh, we see that Maurice is, I'm assuming he's referring to Marceau when he speaks about the two children popping up out of nowhere. So that is why I say their relationship might not end up on solid ground at the end of this, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't get to this point. Yeah, because I suppose Maurice feels like, if you're gonna call me out, I'm gonna call you out too. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be, and you hear more Marceau saying, if you throw something at me, I'm gonna throw a whole torch at you, or something of that sort. My goodness, it's gonna be drama, blood pressure through the roof. It's gonna be really, really something. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the super trailer. Are you looking forward to the next season of Love and Marriage Huntsville? Let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and see you next time from the Ranting Shop with me, Melissa. Bye.